with him being at the University of Colorado, it's almost elevated the sport, it's elevated him, it's elevated a lot of the things that he's doing, and it's made this topic something that people cannot stop talking about, and you gravitate towards it for different reasons. Some people are gravitating towards it because they love Coach Prime, they want to see him succeed. Some people are gravitating towards it because he's doing things that have never been done. Some people are gravitating towards it because they don't like Coach Prime and they want to see him fail. Some people are acting like they're not paying attention while paying attention in the distance. Like, we know how people are. But the thing that is interesting to me is actually the fan base of Colorado. What I think happens is when you have somebody like Coach Prime, who is giving you access, who is almost making you feel like you're a part of the team, and who makes you feel like these are, your cousins or your nephews, depending on your age or whatever. It connects you so much to the program that it impacts the way that you are a fan. This isn't a bad thing or anything, but what I've started to realize with Coach Prime is there's a variety of different fans. And we haven't all figured out how to play together in the same sandbox. And so it's similar to if you're in a relationship and somebody, usually you have like somebody that's a talker, somebody that says that, but you like make it work because opposites attract. The same hasn't been true for this Colorado fan base. And it's so interesting to me because the Colorado fan base exhibits this interesting dynamic that doesn't really exist in a lot of places. In sports, it's usually you think this or you think that, or you think this or you think that. It's very rare that you find a team where everybody sees this differently. So, and I'm going to just talk about all the like different types of people, because I think each of the different type of fan has something different to bring to the table. So so let's talk about just like the standard football fan that's been watching football forever, that is a fan of teams and will support teams, but also isn't going to just like blindly support them or isn't going to act like the things that they're doing is kind of weird or different or whatever. And so it's triggering a response of like uncomfortability. And so that's where I am. So I feel like I'm one of those fans that I've watched sports my whole life. I feel like I'm a lot more progressive on my thinking. And so I like what Coach Prime is doing and that he's doing things differently. I think that that's amazing. Because I haven't seen it work yet, I'm just not sure where we're at and how it's going to come to fruition. But I'm hoping for the best and that he does everything he says he's going to do, and it's all going to work out great. I think if anybody is going to be able to do what he's doing and make it successful, it's going to be him. That's where I stand. And I consider myself kind of like the middle of the road fan, where I'm not going to come out and articulate my negativity towards what they're doing or talk about them in a tone that is a negative tone, because I think a lot of people do that. They don't realize they're doing it. But it's the next group of people I'm going to talk about. So there's the other group of Colorado fans that people deem haters. And I think the reason why they're called haters is because the tone they use with Colorado, it's almost never a positive tone. And it's a disguised hate, I would say. So for example, they might come out and say like, I want Colorado to do well. I hope they do well. But then they will proceed to bash every single thing Colorado's doing and talk about all the negative things they're doing in the program. And then they'll almost sandwich it in with a positive and say, yeah, but I think they'll be fine. To me, that is almost like a manufactured hate in a way where I am not able to tell you why you're being a hater, because you did say positive things, but the tone and the way that you're talking about Colorado, you're giving them the benefit of no doubt. Everything they do is a question mark to you. Everything they do to you seems suspicious. Everything they do to you, you feel like they are not making progress. And you could almost laugh about the things that they're doing because you don't think it's good. And so it's a joke to you. So to me, that's almost like a disguised hate. And the people that sit in the disguised hate group, if you listen to how they talk, there's always a positivity at the beginning, and then there's the negativity, and it's a ton of negativity, and then there's a little bit of positive on the end. It's like a sandwich. It's like there's a feedback method. That's the sandwich method, and you start with really great, and then you give the employee like they're really kind of negative, and then you fill it with the positive, and you hope that they receive that constructive criticism as positive, even though you've really kind of grilled them in the middle. That is what I think a lot of people hear when they try to say that people are haters, is that they are talking more negatively than positively when it comes to Colorado, and they're disguising what they're saying as a positive. But it's really not a positive, but it's a word play. And so it feels like maybe like a manipulation, or it feels like you're in, but you already have 1 foot out the door, and it can feel like hate. And so the people that get that label, it's really the tone they're using, and it's the way they're talking about Colorado. I will say that usually too, those group of people do know a lot about football, and because they've seen a certain way that college football is operated and ran, that is the way that they're able to pull from information and apply it to this situation. So that is why what they're saying comes across, their tone is different and it sounds a little bit spiteful, is because they are talking about the history of what they've seen and they're applying it to Colorado's situation, and it's a different situation. And so they're not sure how to reconcile the two yet. And so it's coming off as hate. So there's the middle of the road people who can, whatever, I call myself, I always say I always live in the gray. So there's the gray person, but then there's also the articulated hate side, or the hate part of this, where the haters will come in, they're like, tell me what I did that was hate. Tell me what I did was hate. And nobody can actually say what they did, because it's their tone and it's the way that they view Colorado as a whole. And the fact that they have more negative things than positive things to say about the program, that's what makes them seem like haters. Then, if you look at that group, then take the opposite extreme, and then people will call it super fandom or the cult, whatever. Those words, I can understand how they are, can be seen as negative, because nobody wants to be told they're in a cult, first of all. So that's not going to help. And super fandom, when you use it as a negative connotation, people are going to be offended. That's just how people are structured. If you trigger them and you say something negative and something that sounds negative, they're going to take it as a negative. So that's one thing. However, the super fandom, a lot of super fans don't apply any reason, any logic, or any negativity on what Colorado is doing. So you could be a fan of another team, you could be a fan of another school, you could be somebody that's watched football for a long time, but you are not somebody that's willing to talk negative, say negative about anything that Colorado does. In fact, when things happen that are actually negative, that actually aren't good, you will try to cover it up, and you're almost doing the reverse sandwich of what the hater was doing. So the hater was doing a positive, then a bunch of negative, and then a positive at the very end to kind of make their sandwich. You're doing the opposite. So you might say, well, yeah, that's fine. But then your middle has a ton of positive stuff. So you're matching that same amount of negativity you just got from the other source. You're now the opposite of that. So now all of your positivity is on the end. And then you might end with some negativity, like, yeah, well, 4 and 8 wasn't good, right? And so you're almost masking your fandom, or your super fandom, or your cult-like, or whatever. Or if you get that title, you're a person that starts at the top, and then you can almost excuse away every single thing that Colorado does. So the same way that you can excuse away every single thing that Colorado does, the hater is able to condemn and knock every single thing that Colorado does. And so there's this clash of how we're seeing things, and the way that we often attack the different sides is super fans will tell the super fans they don't know anything about football. That's just the way that we condemn them. For the haters, we'll be like, you're just a hater, your opinion doesn't matter. The truth though is always somewhere in the middle. That's just how life works. Just because you are so pro on one side, and you're so this and you're so that, and you think that, that's great. But the truth is the middle of the road is where it's at. And so the other thing I find very interesting, which happens in this dynamic, which I don't really think I've seen outside of the Colorado fandom, and maybe it does exist, I just haven't experienced it or been a part of it, is are you a Colorado fan or are you a Coach Prime fan? Here's the thing, friends. It doesn't matter. You can be a Colorado fan or a Prime fan. The goal, we all want them to win. So it doesn't matter like what side of the field you're on, if you're a Colorado fan, if you're this fan, like it really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. And that is for them to win and for them to be successful, period, full stop. I also think there's also the side of Colorado who have people that are actually hate watching them. They actually want Colorado to lose. And they're actively watching every game so they can lose because they're tired of the story, or they don't like Coach Prime, or they don't like, it well off. They feel like they should be able to control these black kids, and they don't like that they will wear jewelry. How dare them have confidence, right? They're actually hate watching. But they're also fans, because if you're watching and you're supporting something, you are a fan. So whether you want to be a hateful fan or not, you're still a fan. You might be a hateful fan, but you're still watching. And so you're still contributing to their success because you're a part of the numbers that is showing that all these people are watching Colorado. And I just want us to realize what's happening here. I have listened to a lot of people blame certain people for being haters, blame certain people for being cult members, blame certain people for whatever. I will always be in the middle. I will always have a little bit of super fandom in me, and I will always have a little bit of hate in me. And that's just where I stand. So you can call me like a super hater or whatever, or a hate super, I don't care what the word is. But I think collectively, we have to start identifying and putting words to what we're seeing and what we're experiencing. Because I think whenever you can add context, and whenever you can say, yes, you might say you want Colorado to win, because that's how you can mask being a hater, right? You can say, I hope Colorado wins. Listen, I hope Colorado wins. Listen, I'm the one who said last year this. I'm the one, I want them to win. I want that, right? You can say that. But then you cannot proceed to only talk about all the negative things that this team does. That's not how it doesn't come across correctly. And it doesn't come across in a way where I feel like you are actually being a real, true supporter. And that is what causes the conflict. It's like that old rule that I think that when you say something negative, or when something negative happens because of something, that negative action holds on to you longer and and has more impact than the positive. I think somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, I hope, but I think it's like it takes like 7 or 8 positives to do away with that negative. And so if that is true, if it takes you 7 to 8 positives to get rid of the one negative thing that you said, let's think about this in context. You're coming out and you're saying like, Colorado's great. I want them to win. I like Coach Prime. I think it's cool, blah, blah, blah. And then every single thing that you might say for the next whatever, or everything that you defend is negative. It will then take you like 56 positives to go against all of those negatives. And so it's important to realize context. It's important to make sure that we're not trying to disguise our hate by spinning it into a positive way, because that is actually a form of manipulation. And when you do that, nobody will ever be able to tell you exactly what you said that was negative and what makes you a hater, because you've almost disguised it within the rest of the things that you're saying to make it seem like the thing that you said wasn't articulated hate, and it actually is. And so again, some people are going to listen to this video and they're going to be triggered. And then we're going to be like, tell me one thing I said. All you have to do in life is listen to how people are talking about things. If collectively a lot of people that fall in the middle can understand different perspectives and can understand both sides of a situation, that probably means that both things can be true. And that probably means that something that you're doing is triggering that thought. I do want to end this video and say, I can understand why certain people deem certain people haters. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. I can see it. I can hear it. It's consistent. It happens a lot. And I can see it. I can totally see it. because because it's a disguised type of hate, it's hard to articulate the why, but you just feel it and you can see it, but you can't put your the words to it. I got it. I can also understand when people say that they're super fans, and I can also understand why people can say like it's a cult, and I can understand why that language comes into play. Now again, that language is negative and I don't like it, but I can understand the perspective, because a lot of times what happens is whenever you're trying to back somebody off of you, you will label them in the opposite way that they have labeled you. So if you're going to say that I'm a cult, I'm going to say that you're a hater. Or if you're going to say that I'm a hater, I'm going to say that you're in a cult, because I'm going to give you as much pushback as you're giving me. And that is why you will never find me in the middle of a conversation between somebody that might be a super fan or whatever, or however you want to describe that person, and somebody that a lot of people think is a hater. I will never engage in that conversation because we don't have the same foundation. And both sides have an out because of how they've started the conversation. And I do not like to have those type of conversations that I feel like are intellectually dishonest, because we're not starting with the how you're treating things and how you're communicating them out. We're actually starting in an unstable ground, and those conversations are not good, and the conversations will go nowhere because you're both trying to defend your point, but no one's trying to hear the other point. And so I will just back off of that conversation. And so I just wanted to share out a little bit about why the Colorado fandom is so interesting. Listen, I don't care if you are a hater or whatever. I don't care if you're a super fan or whatever you are. I don't care if you're middle of the road. I don't care if you're a Colorado fan and not a Prime fan. I don't care if you're a Prime fan and a Colorado, like, I don't care what your thing is. I just hope collectively we can all agree that the goal is for Colorado to win as many football games as possible. And if we can all agree there, I don't care about the rest. All I care about is that Colorado can win games and that we can be amazing, because that is what I want to see. I want to see Coach Prime be successful, and I want to see Colorado have a winning season.